Hello, I'm Nicole Dobransky, and I'm a certified endurance nutrition coach and a run coach, and I'm running the California International Marathon this Sunday, and I will be carb loading. And so today I'm gonna make this video for you where I show you what I picked up at the store to carb load, how to carb load, and how to figure out exactly how much you need to carb load. Because even though there are blanket requirements, there's a lot of nuance here, and it's actually pretty hard to get in the amount of carbs that you actually need to perform your best in a marathon. So carb loading is shown to improve performance by sometimes 3%, which can add up to several minutes in your race. And really it can make you feel so much better at that mile 20, 22, 24. You can finish a lot stronger because your muscles and your liver is full of glycogen and it's fully topped off. So the way that our body works when we're running a marathon is it is starting to use energy, starting to use carbohydrate and glycogen as stored in your muscles. While we're on the course, we want to make sure that we are eating, I always recommend 30 minutes, you're having a gel. Ideally, if you can get in 50 to 60 grams of carbs per hour while you're out on the course, that's great, but you're burning more than that. So thinking of it like a gas tank, if you want your gas tank fully topped off when you start the race, because it's going to be going down faster than you can replenish. And if you get to the point where your body starts to, or your brain starts to realize that you're losing and you're not going to be able to make up all that glycogen, it starts to send signals to your muscles and to your body to slow down and hit the wall. So in order to get those stores fully topped off, you got to do what's called a carb load. The carb load, a lot of people think it's the pasta dinner the night before a marathon, but it's really, in reality, a 2 to 3 day process of intentionally increasing carbohydrates and also decreasing fiber, a little bit of protein and fat so that we have enough room in our stomach to absorb all that. Also during this time, it's incredibly important that you make sure that you are drinking plenty of water. And when you're storing that glycogen, it requires water. And at this same note, you might feel a little bit bloated or just, you're definitely gonna weigh more. So don't get on the scale because it's all glycogen and water. You actually want to be gaining a few pounds of weight in this time because it's just gonna help you run faster. So don't stress about it, it's not gonna stay on. So I'm gonna show you what I bought at the store and the plan. So first, how much carbs do you need for your body weight? So it's a range. It's 8 to 12 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight. So for example, I'm around 145 pounds. That's around 65 kg, which then translates, if I'm on the low end of that, that's 520 grams on the low end, and if I get up to 10, that's 650. Most people, if this is your first time carb loading, I would not recommend going to 12 grams because you aren't used to it. So you can carb load better the more that you've been eating carbs in training. If you are a smaller woman and you haven't been eating enough carbs during training, because realistically, as a high-performing marathon runner, if you're running significantly, you should be eating 6 to 8 grams of carbs a day during training, but most women are falling short of that. But either way, adding more carbs in before the race is going to benefit you tremendously, and I highly recommend it. So I'll show you what I picked up. You're gonna wanna eat that much every single day of the carb load. I generally find that on the first day, it's really difficult to hit even the 8, or hitting the 10 would be amazing. So it's good for that first day for you to just aim for the lower end, and it's okay if you don't fully hit it because you have 2 more days and the first day is less important. Also on the first day, because when we're carb loading, we're choosing food that is generally lower in fiber, we're eating less protein, we're not gonna feel as good. I feel my best when I'm eating whole foods, when I'm eating protein and fiber and vegetables and fruit, and we're not gonna be eating as much of that. But on day 1 of the carb load, I still eat a little bit more protein. I eat my normal fiber foods so that I feel better. But then on day 2 and day 3, it's really important to scale back. So I'm giving you some examples of foods that I eat. Okay, we'll start with, I'm separating this kind of in half and half with gluten-free and gluten, because I think a lot of people think that when we carb load, we're just eating tons of bagels, which I have my bagels here. I love everything bagels. And normally in training, I eat Dave's Killer Bread cinnamon raisin bagels, but they have more fiber. So during the carb load, I will pick up some of these Thomas bagels. They still do have 3 grams of fiber, but the bagel has 49 grams of carbs. So I want you to take a step back to what I just said about how much carbs I need in a day, and imagine that I'm going for 550. So that means that I need to eat, we're doing the math here, 11 bagels, right? So a bagel is pretty high in carbs. It's probably the highest unit item that you will find. Another great one is white rice. White rice is incredible. You can make it at home. It's super cheap and easy. You can add some salt to it. I know it's super plain and boring. Obviously, you can have it with, lean protein and a little bit of veggies. On day one, you could have more veggies, more protein with it, or even better if you did like a lentils or beans with it, which is, those do have fiber, but they have carbs as well, and they have protein. So, but white rice is amazing. It's also another thing that you can easily find if you're traveling. If you go to an Asian restaurant, for example, and you get like a stir fry and then you just order an extra side of rice, and then you mostly eat the rice and you eat some of the protein, a little bit of like if there's potatoes in the stir fry or any kind of like lower fiber vegetable, or if you're not as sensitive, you could have some more of the vegetables, but that's a great option when you're traveling. Same with like if you go to Chipotle and when you're traveling and you get a flour tortilla, you get white rice, you get a little bit of protein, and you fill that up, that's gonna be a ton of carbs. Okay, another thing I do is I still eat vegetables or fruit because I feel better when I'm eating fruit. And so bananas are obviously a huge staple of runners. I have cuties here, which I will take on the plane with me. I'm gonna have a pear today. I probably won't have them tomorrow because I'll be traveling. And when you're traveling, it can be harder. I also have berries because one of the things I like to do is make have yogurt with granola. Granola has a ton of carbs, and then I also put berries and honey on it. This is more of a day 1, day 2 snack because of the fiber. And if you're not aware of why you don't want to have so much fiber, it's because it makes you go to the bathroom. So you want to, ideally on like the 3rd day, the day before your race, you're trying to limit fiber as much as possible. Another reason why I love the rice, almost no fiber, or maybe it's none. So other options is just like having something that you enjoy eating. Like I find that a lot of carbs are kind of sweet, so it's like salty, sweet. So these crackers are I'll carry those with me on the plane. This is another sweet option, these Aussie Bites that are oatmeal. I also do oatmeal every morning on the carb load as my breakfast because again, I notice I don't feel as good when I'm mostly doing like pasta, like bagels. I'm doing so much wheat. I like to vary it, and so oatmeal is oats, obviously, not wheat. Another thing that is incredibly helpful for me is juice. So you're gonna find it's incredibly difficult to consume enough carbs without having liquid supplementation. So what I do is I like to look for for real fruit juice. This is 100% orange juice, and this is 100% cherry juice. Otherwise, it's added sugar, which, again, at this point, sugar is not going to turn into fat when we use it on race day, so don't stress about that, but I just prefer to have natural sugar versus a lot of added sugar. On that same note, something like Tailwind here is literally just sugar that you're going to use when you're during the race. You're going to use this, but you can use this like the day before. Use your sports drink and have a cup or 2 of it because you're going to get carbohydrate. You're also going to get electrolytes, and those electrolytes are going to help you the next day. So I do recommend whatever sports drink you drink the day before, use that as part of your carb load. I wouldn't recommend doing it on like the first day or the second day. Another thing, if you are someone who is gluten-free and or wants less processed foods and more natural foods, is potatoes. These baby potatoes are a little harder because ideally you want to peel them to get some of the fiber off. But say on day 1, you wouldn't need to do that. So you could cook these baby potatoes. You could bake it. You can put them like a full potato in the microwave and then just eat the inside. And that's going to provide a lot of carbohydrate. One of the things to avoid besides fiber during this time is a lot of extra fat. And the hard thing is a lot of carbs are made with fat. For example, my first marathon, my friend so nicely made me and my friend a huge batch of peanut butter cookies. They were peanut butter Reese's cookies, and they were so good. I think I had like 8. They were like little, like they have the Reese inside. And my stomach really was upset, and I wasn't actually getting as many carbs in those because they're they're a large portion of them are fat, right, from the peanut butter, and it ends up making you not feel so good. It fills you up, and you're not getting as many carbs as you think you are. So try to avoid things like donuts. I say one croissant is fine, but like croissants are another example of something that's fat, like has more fat. Again, with the rice, like just put salt on it and have it. And it's sometimes you can feel like, oh, it's so exciting to eat all this stuff that maybe I don't normally, but then it's kind of like the more boring you can make it, the better. We didn't talk about pasta, but pasta is obviously a great choice. It's a very common choice. Same with bread. So if I'm traveling, almost always I have pasta, or actually my go-to pre-race meal is pasta. So in this case, we got an Airbnb. So I'm going to be going to the store, buying my pasta and my normal sauce and some bread, and then having that the night before. And then the night before that, we're gonna have Thai food. So I'll have my white rice. All right, I think I covered everything. And just know that even if you don't hit your goal of the carbs and you find it really hard, or if you're feeling, maybe you're not going to the bathroom because you're used to eating more fiber, or you're feeling kind of bloated, it usually all works out on race day, and you will feel so much better during the race because of these extra carbs. But you can expect to kind of feel a little sluggish, and then depending on, like, for example, I would recommend having the juice with a meal, because if you just have the juice by itself, it's going to spike your blood sugar and you're going to not feel as good. So the thing is, like, think of yourself as like a toddler, and you're eating how they eat, like every 2 hours, and just be constantly topping it off. Another option I didn't talk about is if you do want to have like hard candy, for example, or like sour candy. That's really easy to eat a lot of, and there's a lot of carbohydrate in that, and that's a way to top things off and to switch things up. But if a lot of the options I gave you here, I forgot to mention honey too, so I get these honey packets when I travel. But honey is another, and maple syrup are both great options, kind of like Elf, where you're just like putting them on top of things. So like on your bagel, on your oatmeal, you're adding honey, and it's extra. Same with like thinking about like your coffee creamer has carbs in it. So I do recommend tracking in either MyFitnessPal, which is free, or just an Excel spreadsheet. I have an Excel spreadsheet that I am going to be sharing. If you want to use that to track, I'm a former accountant, so kind of nerdy, and use that. But I hope that this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know.